Dave, you're talking about peace, aren't you? No, talking about buying my book.
I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube.
Why do you follow me if you don't already own my book?
Face yourself, bitch. Like, that's crazy to me. You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it.
I stumbled across my children's book, Johnny the Walrus, which is still available for pre-order over at johnnythewalrus.com, by the way, and does not approve. Specifically, my video where I read the book to a group of children has provoked Sam's ire in a video titled, "Transphobes Are Writing Children's Books. Trans Girl Reacts." This is good. I am sincerely interested to hear how a trans girl, quote unquote, reacts to Johnny the Walrus. Perhaps this will be a point-by-point rebuttal. Perhaps evidence and science and logic and bulletproof moral arguments will all be marshaled, and by the end of the video, I will have completely changed my mind.
I probably should know better than to attempt to critique a conservative commentator without at least trying to make myself look like I attempted to present feminine in any type of way first. But you know what? I've decided today that if I get hate on this because people have chosen to disregard all of my book publishing credentials in favor of just critiquing me on how ugly and gay I am, you know what? That's your prerogative. You don't have to learn shit in this world. You may remember that a few times in 2021, I made videos about people like Gabby Hanna.
Face yourself, bitch. Like, that's crazy to me. You fucking weird ass bitch. You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it.
And Dave Hollis.
Why do you follow me if you don't already own my book? Dave, you're talking about peace, aren't you? No, talking about buying my book. They're friends. We're trying to be friendly. Don't yell at these people. I'm just going to say, I'm coming back. I'm going to be a little intense for a second. I just want you to brace yourself. It's early. I'm wearing American flag socks. You know it's going to be a good day if you're wearing those American flag socks. Why do you follow me if you haven't bought my book?
And these videos were not for the sake of drama, but rather for the focus of my channel, which is books, book reviewing, book publishing, book writing, and the business world overall. Now, it is very commonly known in the author and book community that reviewers write reviews for the reader. It's much like leaving a product review on a product on any website. Everybody say it with me, repeat after me. Book reviews are for the reader. Product reviews are for the customer. Book reviews are for the reader. Could you imagine if every time someone left a review for a product that didn't work, when the business product just responded and was like, yeah, well,
facts don't care about your feelings.
Facts don't care about your feelings. My facts said that my product works, so suck it. It's not a good look. It doesn't make you look like a good business owner, and it makes your profession as a whole look like a bunch of assholes. And that's why I get so fed up with authors coming after reviewers who don't like their work. Guess what? I'm an author. I have 11 books out. Some people aren't gonna like them, and that's okay. That's not up to me to decide. I put my work out there, and now it is yours. The customer is always right, as they say. So it's kind of shocking to me that supposed capitalists can't understand this point of view. Today, we are going to be looking into the controversy surrounding Matt Walsh and Samantha Lux. Let's just roll the intro, get you some nuts and all that.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes. Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.
Hey, what's up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy, and welcome back to Savvy Writes Books, the channel where we talk about books and business. This video was a little bit unplanned because I saw some shenanigans going down on the internet, and I was like, I just have to talk about this, and I was feeling motivated. Now, I'm going to react to everything live. I haven't watched any of these videos that I'm about to react to yet at all, but from what I've seen going down, this seems to be another clear case of author can't understand that reviewers who don't like their work aren't haters. They just don't like your work, and that is completely valid. We need to protect reviewer spaces, guys. As an author, I think it is important that reviewers feel safe saying what they really think about my book. I don't want just a bunch of bullshit reviews of people saying they like it. I want a mix of reviews. I want people's honest opinions, and I don't want other authors ruining that for me, like Matt Walsh seems to be the next in a long line of people to do. Let's get started. First of all, who is Matt Walsh? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's find out. Matt Walsh is a writer, speaker, author, and one of the religious right's most influential young voices. He is known for boldly tackling the tough subjects and speaking out on faith and culture in a way that connects with his generation and beyond. And where are we looking at this biography of Matt Walsh? Oh, it's on the Daily Wire. Now, who knows who's the owner of the Daily Wire? My longtime best friend, Ben Shapiro.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Matt Walsh is employed by the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's company, which is an online media, podcast, YouTube show, radio show, company that produces conservative-leaning media. Let's look at Matt Walsh blog's post called How I'm Saving the Children's Book Genre. See, I'm a children's author myself. The small business that I started in 2017 and still run to this day is called Forever Home Friends. It's linked in the description below. It's my series of children's books and plushies, all based on real rescue dogs and their journeys to adoptions. Chewy plushies are getting restocked soon for everyone who's been waiting for those. Anyway, the books all tackle different issues around the world from a dog's perspective, tying parallels between real dog stories and what real human children often go through. They include discussion questions in the back to delve into these issues. This business is my pride and joy. It's the main thing I've been doing, other than this YouTube channel and my other books that I write. I'm a busy person. Anyway, as a children's author who thinks the genre is doing quite well, actually, I'm very curious to know how Matt Walsh thinks that he is single-handedly going to save a genre that I've been happily employed in for a long time. I don't know, Matt, tell me. Oh, I can't read it without making an account for the Daily Wire first? Excuse me, I have to pay just to read about how Matt thinks he's saving the children's book genre. You know what? This is bullshit. I'm just gonna let Matt's actions speak for themselves. Matt Walsh has a children's book coming out this March. It's called Johnny the Walrus. We're gonna take a look at this book, what it's about, and what people have been saying about it. So here it is, Johnny the Walrus, as you guys will notice. Last purchased January 16th, at the time that I'm filming this. That was like an hour ago. I bought this book. I pre-ordered it because I want to review it in good faith. I want to read it and review it and give my personal review as a reviewer on whether or not I think Matt Walsh is saving the children's book genre. Take it away, Matt. Johnny is a little boy with a big imagination. One day, he pretends to be a big scary dinosaur. The next, he's a knight in shining armor, or a playful puppy. I still pretend all of these things and I'm 29. I mean, I'm a furry. But when the internet people find out Johnny likes to make believe, he's forced to make a decision between the little boy he is and the things he pretends to be. And he's not allowed to change his mind. So I'm not going to review this book before I read it, but the thing that sticks out to me here is the internet people. Who are the internet people? Why is this child's parents allowing him to have unfiltered access to the internet people? Is Matt Walsh the internet people, considering his entire career is online? Am I the internet people? In the time of a pandemic where a lot of people are working from home, aren't most of us the internet people? Now, there was a controversy about this book, which is that when it first came out, it was categorized in the LGBT category on Amazon, which was a little strange because if you read this description, it doesn't seem to be about LGBT topics. It seems to be about some evil internet people who try to force a boy to become a walrus, which sounds just like some kind of 80s B-movie body horror shit. Like, I don't understand how this is for children. But I'm here to listen to what other people and what Matt himself have to say about this book. Now, if I'm not going to be dense on purpose, I think that the fact that the book was categorized in the LGBT category was most likely done by Matt himself or by the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's company, which is his publisher, for the sake of creating this narrative that, look, this book is about LGBT topics and trying to force the audience to draw those parallels. The internet people are forcing Johnny to become a walrus. Based on things that Ben and Matt have said before, this might be some type of allegory for how they think that online people are trying to indoctrinate children into being trans, which I've never seen evidence of actually happening, but they seem to have this idea that that's happening, and considering it was categorized in the LGBT category, I think that's what they're trying to say. Let's look at some of the reviews that have been done to this, including the most famous now online beef that's happening between Matt Walsh and Samantha Lux over this book. So this is a video by Samantha Lux, who is a YouTuber and she is a transgender woman. I think her channel is great. I've watched a bunch of her videos and she seems really sweet and really genuine. And she has this video reacting to this new Johnny the Walrus book that's coming out.
Matt Walsh, if you are not familiar with, is like an infamous transphobe on YouTube. This posted a video 1 week ago reading his book, Johnny the Walrus, to a bunch of little kids.
So if she's seen the video of him reading the book to a group of kids, from there, we can probably infer that she's likely heard the content of the book and is reviewing the book based on the book. Sounds like reasonable book reviewer stuff to me.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Matt Walsh. I am a children's author, and I've written a book called Johnny the Walrus. This book is all about identity and imagination. What is identity? Does anyone know what identity means?
He's like, this book is about identity. All the kids are like, I didn't who?
When I've done readings to kids, like when I've done readings at preschools and things like that, I'll take my Forever Home Friends books, and it's fun because depending on the age group I'm reading to, I'll have to modify the discussion questions, right? And that's kind of why I put those discussion questions in my books, because I wanted them to be things that you could read over a period of different age groups. Like it'll mean something different to you when you're 2 years old than it means when you're 8 years old, right? When I'm reading to a group of like 4-year-olds, if I'm reading Smile Chewy to them, I might not just lead with the discussion question that's like, Chewy lacks self-confidence. What does it mean to have confidence? A lot of them don't know. So I might start with a simple question that's like, who is the good guy in this book? And then they'll raise their hand and be like, Chewy, the dog, he was the good guy. And then a million other kids will raise their hand and be like, I have a dog. You have a dog? I saw a dog yesterday. My grandma has a dog. And that's just kind of how kids are. And then I'll ask a question like, okay, bad guy. Why do we know that Chewy's the good guy? What do we like about him? What do you think his special strengths are? What are things about him that make him special? And then we use that to do some scaffolding and lead into those discussion questions. Whereas if I'm talking to a group of kids who's a little older, I might go right into the discussion question of Chewy at the beginning of the book is lacking self-confidence. Do you guys know what confidence means? Okay, what's confidence? When's the time that you felt confident? And then we build on those connections. So yes, I can see this to go up to a group of kids and be like, who knows what identity is? That's a very abstract concept. You kind of have to lead up to that. This is giving me some worry that while Matt Walsh, like anyone has the right to write a children's book, anyone has the right to write whatever they want for whomever they want, free speech, freedom of the press, I believe in it. But I will say that I think it's worthy of critique that from this alone, it's maybe Matt doesn't know a lot about children's education and went into this with an agenda rather than the desire to educate children on a level that they could understand. That's the vibe I'm getting so far. If I'm proven wrong, I'll admit it. Let's continue.
It's who you are, right? That's what it means. Now, who likes to pretend to be things? Is there anything you like to pretend to be? How about in the back?
I like to pretend to be
A ninja. That's a good one. What about you? All about a boy who pretends to be a walrus. He identifies as a walrus, and his mom's a little silly. She takes it seriously and thinks he really is a walrus.
All right, do you understand the comparison that's going to be happening here? He's like, this book is about a little boy who thinks he's a walrus, and his mom, also is convinced that he's a real walrus. Do you get the correlation? It's going to be about a little boy that thinks he's a girl or something, and the mom is convinced that he's a real girl. How creative. How did you ever come up with such a creative, powerful analogy for children who don't understand what you're talking about?
What is this thing doing on the floor?
We don't have to worry about that. We're going to read the book now.
This man has never met a kid in his whole...
That's what's so funny, dude. That's how kids are. That's how kids are, man. Like, okay, when I bring in, like, the Kringle plushies to read Kringle's Christmas as a story, sometimes I'll be like, all right, who's ready to hear this book? And the kids will be like, the dog has a pink nose. So they will look at his nose, and then they'll be like, is this Rudolph the red-nosed puppy? And then they'll just break into Rudolph as a song. That's how kids are. Their minds go like this. So the fact that Matt's like, why aren't these kids focusing on a discussion about identity? It's like, for someone who's saving the whole genre of children's literature, you sure seem to have never worked in children's education in your life. And I feel this is a judgment I'm comfortable making, as I have worked in children's education. I was a children's creative writing teacher for years until the pandemic hit. Dude, Samantha's so funny. She's hilarious. I love her.
Johnny's mom loves her son's make-believe time. You're Johnny the Walrus till you change your mind, Mommy says. But Johnny's mom's phone said it's not just pretend. So she went on her phone, and there were people telling her that this isn't pretend, he's really a walrus.
These kids have no idea what's going on, dude. I wish I knew there was this video of him reading the whole entire thing before I pre-ordered it and spent my money on it. I guess I could cancel it, but like, I'm gonna do a legit review. I get all the books that I want to review. Maybe I'll annotate it and do it in a giveaway. That's what I do. I do this shit for you guys. I suffer for my art. I have to ask the same question that I asked when we reacted to Dave Hollis and his whole Pancake Gate thing and him interacting with his daughter. Is this for kids or is this for their parents? It's clear when you're writing something for kids versus when you're writing something that their parents would read. Like, are kids enjoying this book? Are kids gonna understand mom went on her phone and went on to the internet, mom went on to Twitter, where all the liberal cucks reside? They're not thinking about that, they're thinking about Fortnite and shit, dude.
A bigot would say that. How dare you offend? What's a bigot? Anybody know?
These kids do not know what a dude. I learned the word bigot when I was in 7th grade, and I was a social justice warrior at that time, so like... And I don't even know what it's 13. These 4-year-olds do not know the word bigot, dude.
Did he run this past like an actual children's author? Maybe like read it to a kid and see what they thought before he published it? I think he just went for it. Of course they don't know what a bigot is. They're for.
Dude, her review is super fair so far. This is exactly what I thought it was going to be. The fact that he responded to her and said negative things about her and started a beef with her is exactly in line with the authors don't respond to reviewers. She's listening to him read this book to children, she's seeing how this book isn't resonating with them, and she's critiquing the content of the book, as any reviewer has the right to do. And anyone can be a reviewer of a book. You don't have to be officially hired by a publication. Everyone on Goodreads, on Amazon, everybody can review products and books. She's reviewing a book, as she has the right to do, and so far I've agreed with everything she said, honestly. So Samantha Lux, if you're watching this video, I, as someone who's been a children's author for longer than Matt Walsh has, completely agrees with you and thinks that you're absolutely right.
Mommy was told to take John for a checkup. All these people are holding signs. Johnny is a real walrus, one sign says. Human walruses are real walruses. Let Johnny transition, all these people are saying.
Why does the art in this book look like it was made in Microsoft Paint? No shade to the artist, like, I guess a little shade to the artist, like, it looks like it was made in, it looks like Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff, dude.
He's putting in all of these things that are supposed to be like direct correlations to the trans community and like what's happening with the trans community, and kids don't know anything about that. You're trying to draw parallels to trans activists. They don't know what that is. They don't know what you're talking about.
Matt seems to be under the impression that, like, people are indoctrinating children to become trans. So Matt is indoctrinating children with the idea that people are going to do this, right? So it's like these children are very young. They probably have not encountered anything like what this book is talking about. This plot probably makes absolutely no sense to them. Honestly, if I didn't know the history of Matt Walsh and things like that, this book wouldn't make sense to me as an adult with a master's in English. So he's trying to force children to draw this parallel that in the future, when they meet a trans child or when they see an LGBT protest or something like that, they draw the comparison to this book and think, oh my god, that's like the ridiculous walrus thing. This must not be real. This must be the villainous internet people. Why did the description say the internet people when clearly in the book right now, these are not people on the internet. These are people in person. Yeah, dude, I just can't with these body proportions.
Kids don't know anything about that. You're trying to draw parallels to trans activists. They don't know what that is. They don't know what you're talking about, bro. Just admit it, this is the only format that your audience would understand.
You'll need to eat worms and to put on gray makeup. The worms give you whiskers, the gray blends you in, the doctor says. And a simple procedure cuts feet into fins.
Good lord, they're like oh my god, that's scary. I mean, I assume Ben Shapiro or someone who works for Ben Shapiro was his editor based on who the publisher of this book is. I'm not sure if he has an editor that's familiar with children's literature for this, so for example, when I was first publishing Smile Chewy, there's a scene in Smile Chewy that's a little bit scary because the book does deal with some of the abuse that Chewy went through as a puppy. And I didn't want to make it too graphic because I didn't want children to be scared. In the original version, I didn't have graphic illustration or anything, but it pretty much said directly what happened in specifics. And a lot of other people in my critique group would say, that's gonna scare kids, and I was even worried that it was going to, so we toned it down, and we had a scene happen where it was just kind of like a dark and ominous scene, and the thing just says, and one day he hurt me, and that's what it says, and then it moves on to Chewy talking about his scars and overcoming that and trying to gain self-confidence in the future and things like that. This picture right here, that's terrifying, dude. He's got a whole knife that he's holding up, like, threatening the child with it. This is not appropriate for children. Isn't it weird how the people that are always like, the LGBT community, that's not appropriate for children, they're the ones producing things that isn't appropriate for children? Has this man ever talked to a teacher? Has he ever talked to an educator?
You see what he's doing here? With the analogies that he's drawing, he's arguing that parents are forcing their young children to take medications that they don't want to take, or to have surgeries that they don't want to take, or to transition.
And this is a good point Samantha's making here. A lot of people have this whole idea that, like, if your kid tells you that they think they might be trans, that they think they might be, the kids often don't have that language. So if they're, 3 or 4 and they say, hey mom, I think that I am this gender. Nobody is giving kids hormone replacement therapy. Nobody is taking kids in for top or bottom surgery. That is not happening to children. It doesn't happen to children. That is a myth. What often happens is that if the kid is like 3 or 4 years old and not even near a time in their life when they would go through puberty, at that age it might just be like, okay, well, is there a different name that the kid might want to go by? Which is no different than letting your kid have a nickname, really. And it's like, okay, well, do they want to try out maybe dressing in a different way or something like that? Do they want to try out different things and see what makes them comfortable? Which, to be honest, whether or not kids are trans, it's important to not force kids into gender stereotypes regardless. Whether someone starts taking hormone replacement therapy generally doesn't happen until they're a minimum of 16 years old, and often not until they're 18, or most people don't have bottom surgery until like their 20s or 30s. This whole idea that like if a child says that there's something that you didn't think they were initially, the doctor's gonna immediately want to give them all this surgery and all this medication, it's a myth. Even the parallel he's trying to draw doesn't happen. So this whole story is like, what is the point of this? What is the point of this other than to terrify children?
Johnny's mom knew that something was wrong, but she felt so much pressure, she just went along. The internet people knew just what to do. She went back to the internet to look for answers. Never gonna do.
The kids don't know what the internet people are. These kids are like, no, it's not good to look for answers on the internet. At least they know that. At least their mom isn't just like giving them an iPad and being like, go crazy on the YouTube Kids app, watch Troom all day, play Fortnite.
So you're not supposed to go to medical professionals. You're not supposed to look online for answers. You're not supposed to believe your child. So we're just supposed to believe the author of this fucking bullshit child's book.
That's the thing. That's what happens with a lot of people who do this. And I noticed this too when I had the debate on my second channel with red pill influencers, and I've noticed this too in reading Ben Shapiro's book. People who are very extreme in their beliefs, they set up this trap where they're the only one you can believe. So if you try to present sources that go against it, they always have a, oh, well, this source can't be trusted because blah, blah, blah. And this other source and this expert can't be trusted because these experts are influenced by this and this. And it's like, yes, every source is biased. At the end of the day, you are never going to find a completely unbiased source. But trusting an expert or a news source is probably the best you're going to get unless you try to say, the only source, I'm the only one you can trust. That's how cults start, dude. That's cult shit.
And mommy was told to take John to the zoo. Now she's gonna take her son to go live at the zoo like he's a real walrus.
I don't want to live at the zoo.
When Johnny arrived, the walruses grunted.
So the walruses don't like Johnny because they don't think he's a real walrus. So is this supposed to be like, in reality, this is a trans girl named Jenny and she went into the women's bathroom and they were like, we don't want you in the women's bathroom. Like, are the walruses supposed to be TERFs? Are these like TERF walruses? I don't understand what's happening.
My boy's a real walrus. His growth was just stunted. But she really thinks this kid is a walrus.
But it's not.
No.
I like him. He said trans rights.
Yeah, this kid over here is like, but he's not. I thought he was a walrus. I thought that was the whole point of the book, was that this kid became a walrus. Dude, this plot is too complex for kids. This is an allegory that only transphobic adults understand. The kids are reading this book thinking like, oh, this is a book about a boy who turns into a walrus. They don't get that it's supposed to be that he's not actually a walrus. Like, that's it. Again, work with children's authors, work in children's education, maybe talk to some children before you write a children's.
What's the moral of the story? What's the lesson here? Aren't children's books supposed to have like a lesson that's, you know, clear? Because I don't know what this is trying to say.
Who is this book for? This book is not for children. Those children didn't know what the fuck was happening. They didn't know phobic. They didn't know what bigot meant. When you're writing, you need to know your target audience. Were children the target audience? Or were parents who watch you on Ben Shapiro's channel the target audience? I don't think this is a children's book. This is an adult book that parodies a children's book or something. Like, this is a weird piece of media right here. So I thought she did a great job on this video. Honestly, that was my first time watching it. She seemed to review the book based on its actual content. She didn't just, you know, make wild assumptions or attack Matt Walsh personally about like him as a person. She really just reviewed the content of the book and the way the children received it. That's how you do a book review. So imagine my shock when, just like the Gabby Hannas and the Dave Hollises before him, Matt Walsh responded by treating a book review as hate. Let's do it. So this is a video on Matt Walsh's channel called Transgender YouTuber Reacts to My Book Called Johnny the Walrus. So first of all, if you are an author and you receive a negative review on your book, you do not respond to it. You're not supposed to respond to it. You don't owe anyone a response, and in fact, nobody wants your response. Understand that some people are gonna like your book and some people aren't. If there are people out there who genuinely like this book, you have the right to leave a review as well.
Today, we're going to be canceling Samantha Lux, who is a YouTuber.
You don't cancel people who review your books. That's not how an author behaves. Bad form. This is just, it's a bad look regardless of who you are.
Sam has many videos promoting transgenderism and quite often responding to perceived instances of transphobia. One of the most recent videos on the channel targets, if you can believe it, none other than the leading LGBT children's author on the planet, yours truly.
He categorized this in LGBT so that he could get a bunch of sales and then call himself the leading LGBT children's author. Here's the thing, Matt Walsh. Your book was ranked #1 in the LGBT category briefly on Amazon because Amazon updates its lists hourly and by category. I've also been a #1 bestseller in multiple categories on Amazon. You can choose a specific category on Amazon and then get 50 people to buy the book all in the same hour, and because it all happened at the same time, it'll shoot up for that hour. That's how Amazon's book rating systems work. It's still fun to celebrate, but nobody should take it seriously that this man is the #1 LGBT author.
You know, I am sincerely interested to hear how a trans girl, quote unquote, reacts to Johnny the Walrus. Perhaps this will be a point-by-point rebuttal. Perhaps evidence and science and logic and bulletproof moral arguments will all be marshaled, and by the end of the video, I will have completely changed my mind.
Okay, but here's the thing. Book reviewers aren't there to get you to change your mind. Book reviews are not for you. Book reviews are for the audience. This is a very self-centered way. I just don't like when people make authors look like this. Like, all the transphobia aside, like, all this shit, like, I make videos on LGBT topics sometimes today. I'm just gonna zero in and narrow the scope of this video to children's writing, to being a children's author, to reviewing books, and to the book publishing world. Even without any of the rest of it, it is not a reviewer's job to make you change your arguments. The review is not for you. Book reviews are not a debate. Book reviews they're reviews. I don't know how there are so many authors out there who don't have this in their brain yet. I'm so fucking confused. And it's getting me annoyed because I'm an author and a reviewer. And I don't like authors making us look bad like this. And I don't like that when I put out a book review, there's the idea that the author could send their fan base after me or something like that.
Maybe even because of this video that we'll watch together, I will become trans myself.
So that's missing the whole point, is that trans people aren't trying to make other people trans. They're just trying to live their life, dude.
I am accusing you and your fellow propagandists of trying to heavily influence children with falsehoods, distortion, lies, and other forms of insanity.
When has Sam ever tried to influence children? Samantha Lux's channel's targeted at adults.
Comparison between somebody identifying as a different sex and someone identifying as an animal has been done a million times. I'm not the first to do it. South Park did it a decade ago. But the problem is that nobody on your side has ever come up with anything approaching an effective response to the analogy.
Everybody's come up with an effective response to the analogy. Here it is. When children are forming in the womb, they can form as male or female. Sometimes this is dependent on chromosomes, and you know what? Sometimes it isn't. There have been cases where people have been born with XX chromosomes and a penis, or XY chromosomes and a vagina. And I know people are going to say that's a statistically small percentage of the population. So are trans people, so are gay people, so are a lot of types of people. Even if it's a statistically small percentage, there's still people with lives, and those lives still deserve to be lived, right? When two adult humans have a child, that child might come out male, the child might come out female, the child might come out intersex, the child might have a combination of different characteristics, or the child may end up coming out physically one way and mentally another way. So even if you don't know exactly what causes something, you can know how to make somebody's life better while they're trying to deal with that circumstance. And for some people, that's going to be physical transition, and for others, it isn't. Now, why this is not compared to being an animal? Because there is no way that when two parents are having a child, that child could come out as an animal. It's not possible. The way that genitals are formed, the way that chromosomes influence the development, that all can result in male children, female children, intersex children, all that type of thing. It will never result in a walrus child.
Did I run it by an actual children's author? Yes, I ran it by myself. And when myself came to myself and said, "Self, what do you think of this children's book idea?" And myself responded, "Self, that's an exceptional idea."
So did you have an editor or not?
So I did get the go-ahead from an expert in the field of children's literature.
Again, I don't think that people need to have like a certain degree or a specific credentials to be considered an expert, but like, even if it's not your first book, even if it's your like 12th book, most people have accepted that it's good to get feedback from other people, especially people who have written other books in this genre. So if this is your first children's book, you probably do want to talk to other children's authors about the ways that children are going to understand things first. That's pretty well known in the author community. Matt, don't respond to book reviewers. It's weird, it's creepy, don't do it. But Matt didn't stop there. So he just posted this other video at the time that I'm filming this was yesterday, called Responding to Transgender Allies Who Hate My Children's Book. Honestly, I'm afraid I'm going to be next. I'm afraid I'm going to be next because I can't review his book either without him coming after me and sending a hate mob after me. This is why you don't respond, because you're never going to get honest reviews if you respond to people who dislike your book. This is going to contribute to the collapse of the book reviewing community. I am legitimately scared about this because I want to give people negative reviews on their books when I don't like the book. If I genuinely have things to say about the book that I dislike, I'm going to say those things because that's my job as a reviewer. You as an author should not be sending people after me. I've gotten negative reviews on my books before. I've gotten positive reviews and negative reviews. Every author gets negative reviews. It's part of being an author. You know what I don't do? Criticize the people who gave a negative review to a book because that's their right.
So longtime fans of this show will remember that last week, a long time ago, we canceled trans YouTuber Samantha Lux, who posted a video attacking my best-selling LGBT novel, Johnny the Walrus, which is available for pre-order at johnnythewalrus.com.
Why do you call it a novel? It's a board book, dude. Saving the children's literature genre by not knowing different types of books.
After I debunked Sam's debunking, many people in the comments informed me that YouTube is in fact full of videos criticizing my seminal work of children's literature, Johnny the Walrus, which is available at johnnythewalrus.com.
It's called the BookTube community. It's called book reviewing. You probably should familiarize yourself with the literature community before you decide to become a literature expert.
Some of these videos are from accounts with lots of subscribers. Some of them have a subscriber base that includes their immediate families and nobody else. And some probably don't even have a fan base that large.
We're gonna go after people who are just reviewing a book with no subscribers, people who aren't even public figures. A public figure who doesn't like what they have to say about your book is gonna come after you. People like Matt are ruining the author community. I'm serious.
Ah, there it is. The whole mutilation thing. Because we chop ourselves up. Remember, when we have surgeries, we're mutilating ourselves and we're chopping ourselves up. It's also funny because this book is about a child, and I've said over and over again, and many trans people have said that children don't get surgery.
Thank you, Sam Collins.
We say it 1,000 times, but these people still just choose not to believe what we say. It's really funny because this can be explained with just one simple thought. Children don't get surgery, right? How would you ever have surgery when you're not fully developed anyways? You can't cut this off if it's not there. So please explain to me how these children are getting surgery.
They're not is the answer. I'm curious to hear what he has to say.
Surgeries that are meant to treat medical issues are not mutilation, no matter who's getting them. But a surgery that destroys a healthy body part or that slices open a healthy organ and flips it inside out is mutilation, no matter who's getting it. By definition, that's mutilation.
Can you tell me if any children are actually having this done? Because the answer is no. I'm about to get my breast surgically downsized. I'm not getting a full mastectomy or top surgery, but I'm getting a breast reduction in a month. So I guess I'm mutilating myself. I'm mutilating myself so that I can go from being your big titty tomboy GF to your small titty tomboy GF. If you believe in freedom and autonomy, you should believe that people can do whatever they want with their body.
Now, as for the claim that children don't get these procedures, that is, for one thing, a lie.
Okay, I'm ready for a source on this.
Minor girls do, in fact, have their breasts removed. It's very common. Happens all the time.
When you say minor, are you talking about like 17-year-olds, or are you talking about 4-year-olds?
But even if that weren't happening.
Even if that weren't happening, which for children, prepubescent children, it is not happening.
And even if most boys aren't being physically altered through surgery, they are being given puberty blockers like Lupron, which is chemical castration.
Puberty blockers are not chemical castration. Look up what puberty blockers actually are. And you know, all this is kind of beside the point anyway, because I think all of these trans reviewers have done a fantastic job of talking about why this book is actually not representative of what being trans is actually about at all. But my purpose here, from the book publishing angle, this is the Books and Business channel, is to talk about why what Matt Walsh is doing here is harmful to the author community and makes the business of writing and book publishing look like a joke. I'm an author who will always stand up for the rights of reviewers to say whatever they want without backlash. If Matt Walsh's fanbase wants to go read my book Sculpt Yourself and criticize all the lesbian sex in it, please go ahead and do it. If you want to read my book 90s Kids and criticize the lesbians making out in it, please go ahead and do it. That is your right as a book reviewer. What I won't do is respond to you about it, because that's not how you're supposed to act as an author. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you again Friday for another video, and I'll see you again next Friday to review Ben Shapiro's book in full with sources and facts and logic and tons of research that doesn't care about our feelings and all of that. So I will see you guys then. I'll see you guys in a month with my mutilated breasts. In the meantime, keep on supporting small businesses, support authors, support book reviewers, and have a fantastic start to your week. Bye, friends.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes. Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.